"Fascinating," said Zenthi, his large black eyes focused unblinkingly on the screen in front of him. "Simply fascinating." The Lithurian scientist tapped his spindly fingers together as he watched the newly discovered bipedal creatures that inhabited planet 1784-59. They called themselves humans, and Zenthi was utterly captivated by them. It had only taken the humans a few short lifetimes to progress from basic stone tools to simple agriculture. A mere blink of an eye later, on the galactic scale, and they had progressed to building towering cities made of metal and glass, filled with advanced technology. "How is it possible they advanced so quickly?" murmured his assistant, Chikari. "No other known sentient life has evolved at a fraction of that rate." "Precisely," Zenthi exclaimed. "It should not be scientifically possible. And yet before our eyes, these humans continue to progress exponentially." He tapped the console, bringing up more footage. The humans had progressed even further now. They had left the confines of their world, beginning to explore the cold void of space itself. "Can they be allowed to continue unchecked?" Chikari asked nervously. All Lithurians knew that along with intelligence often came danger, a conquering nature. They themselves had barely escaped their own self-destructive urges as they neared the nuclear age. Only discipline, control, and enforced pacifism had saved them as a species. Zenthi raised his thin shoulders uncertainly. "The elders will decide their fate. For now, we must simply observe." It was not long before the elders made their decree. Zenthi stood calmly as their voices echoed in the chamber of judgment. These humans spread unchecked amongst the stars now, claiming resource after resource. "We have detected rapid evolutionary changes as they adapt to new worlds in their drive to expand and colonize. Left to themselves, they will overrun the entire quadrant in a shockingly short span of time for such a young race." Zenthi cleared his throat delicately. "If I may, honored elders, I have been observing the humans carefully from the start. Do they not show ingenuity and quick thinking, as well as compassion at times? Perhaps they display the virtues of strength in tandem with mercy." "Enough," boomed the chief elder. "You let sentiment cloud your judgment, scientist. They are little more than beasts, consuming without heed. For the safety of our worlds and those not yet contacted, the humans must be stopped from spreading through the stars." Their decree rang with grim finality in the silent chamber. Zenthi bowed low. "I hear and obey, elders." Captain John Keller watched in horror as alarms blared across the bridge. "Report. What's going on?" "Multiple failures across all systems, Captain," his first officer Nina shouted over the alarms. "Navigation, propulsion, shields, communications. Everything's going haywire. Life support failing in sectors 3 through 8, called another crewman. The overhead lights flickered as John fought to remain calm. Any external contacts or emissions detected? If they had stumbled into some space anomaly or desert of interference, maybe all this could be explained rationally. Negative. All's clear outside. The problem seemed to be originating from within, but nothing in the logs. With a bone-jarring lurch, the exploratory starship shuddered violently. Lights winked out completely for long seconds before the emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. "That was no random systems failure," John said grimly. "Prepare for possible boarding. Security teams to act." His words were lost in a jarring scream of pain. Every crew member wailed as one, collapsing to the floor. It was as if liquid fire were coursing through John's veins, shredding every nerve ending, through vision blurring with involuntary tears of agony. He glimpsed twisted shapes moving through the open bridge door. Then his sight failed completely, and he knew only darkness and torment without end. Zenthi observed the readout without pleasure. The new viral agent worked perfectly. Every human aboard expired within moments. The elder seemed satisfied with his dispassionate report. "Very good. Begin immediate dispersion through their population centers and colonies." Kari risked a hesitant query. "Honored elders, if every human is killed, then we stand to lose any benefits their unique evolution might still offer the galaxy." "Did we ask your opinion, assistant?" The chief elder said coldly. "We have passed our verdict. The humans will trouble our civilization no more." The first human colonies fell swiftly. Then their core worlds, entire planets, were sterilized almost overnight. Led by the callously efficient Lithurians, the ruling species released a deadly virus custom-made to exploit human physiologies. No man, woman, or child was spared from agony as their genetic codes were shredded from within. From proud explorers spanning 100 star systems, the humans were soon reduced to scattered bands of refugees, fleeing inevitable agony and extinction. Harried from all sides, even their mighty space fleet could not withstand the endless onslaught. On Colony World Hyperion 7, young Lieutenant Mara Kuznetsov led the last survivors to shelter deep beneath the frozen tundra. Her commanding officer had designated this icy wasteland the final hiding spot for humanity, hoping here they might escape notice. The 15 cold and starving men, women, and children huddled in the underground bunker had not seen another living soul in long months. Why? Murray whispered, the bitter question that had plagued her waking thoughts. We never attacked them first. We tried communicating, sent envoys of peace, and this is our reward. No one answered in the dark shelter. Finally, old Dr. Nunez stirred, wise face etched with grief. Fear. Jealousy of our potential, perhaps. He sighed heavily. But does the reason truly matter anymore? We are all that remain. Beyond these walls is only endless death. Days blurred into weeks as the tattered remnants of mankind struggled to endure. Mara despaired of their future. Children born now would never know blue skies or green forests, only this cramped metal tomb where the lights never fully brightened and rations slowly dwindled. The enemy had even taken away hope. What good persevering when extinction loomed regardless? In the depths of the endless frozen night, Mara was woken by a familiar agony. Her veins burned as the microbes dormant in her blood reactivated with malicious precision. She staggered upright, bile rising in her throat. All around her, men, women, and children were doubled over moaning as the fatal disease ran rampant. No, it's too soon, Mara gasped through gritted teeth. They had hoped the pathogens might lay inactive longer, perhaps even allowing another generation to be born first. Such a fool's hope. Chest heaving, she scanned the bunker through a haze of pain. Was this the end? Would humanity die whimpering alone in the darkness, leaving no trace they had ever existed? With a snarl, Mara slammed a fist against the wall. The metal panel dented slightly. No, she would never meekly accept extermination. None of her proud species would surrender. If extinction came for them, mankind would go down fighting back until their last breath. Setting her jaw against the sear of liquid agony in her lungs, Mara input the override codes and wrenched open the Sheeler door. Frigid air rushed in, but her rage kept Mara burning hot. She would take this fight back to the very stars themselves. Over the next dozen nights, the last survivors of mankind struggled to enact Mara's daring plan as their bodies slowly failed against the relentless disease. Clawing back from the edge of death with each breath, they labored feverishly in preparation. Not weapons or bombs did they ready. The few mismatched ships remaining could never challenge the vast enemy armadas waiting beyond orbit. No, Murray and her people prepared themselves. Straining medical equipment to its limits, they focused on editing human DNA strands directly, rewriting genetic code to increase strength, speed, environmental resilience. Dangerous untested mutations were induced at the cellular level across bone, muscle, and organ. Side effects were ignored. They were dying regardless. Only the glimmer of possibility drove them now. At last, when 18 humans had pushed modified biology as far as their failing technology allowed, it was time for the final gamble. The enemy had wiped mankind from the stars, forcing this struggle down to one tiny frozen bunker. Mara intended to correct that strategic mistake. Activating the battered facility's emergency transports, the last survivors of humanity locked onto passing observation craft in high orbit. Then, with a musical chime, 18 figures shimmered away into stardust. On board the Lithurian scout ship, sensors register 18 new contacts appearing suddenly out of empty space. Zenthi barely had time to register shock when the humans attacked. Moving in a blur of impossible speed, they disabled system after system with ruthless precision. Lithurian crew attempted to counterattack, but their frames had never evolved for combat. They stood no chance against this violent human onslaught. Moments later, Mara was the only figure still standing, amid the carnage on the bridge. Dark eyes blazing with fervor, she turned to stare directly at Zenthi cowering behind his console. Fresh blood, Lithurian blue, speckled her hands and simple uniform. "We will never go quietly," Mara shouted, gesturing wildly. Behind her, other humans were navigating the ship back towards occupied space, towards the enemy armadas. You sought to erase us. We will evolve and return again and again. Kill one human and a dozen more adapted versions shall appear in their place. Breathless, she leaned down to meet Xenthi's terrified gaze. We are endless possibility. Test us, see, we only grow back stronger. It is what we were born to. With those final words ringing in his ears, Xenthi's vision went mercifully dark as Mara delivered a blow to his head. Through his fading consciousness, he heard the high whine of engines pushing past safety limits. Then there was only silence drifting through the endless void.